Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'd. A'udzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa nazzalna alayka al-kitab tibyanan likulli shay'in wa hudan wa rahmatan wa bushra lil muslimin. Sadaqallahul azim. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We return after a week's time with this week's analysis of global events, Islamic eschatological analysis of global events from 18 November 2014 to 24 November 2014, that is Tuesday to Monday. So we go back to last Tuesday. On Tuesday, 18 November 2014, we read Western jihadis seen in ISIS killing video hail from France, UK, Australia and Denmark. As I have said in the past that not just Muslims from the Middle East, but a whole lot of areas have been affected by the ISIS ideology. And so from Europe and America and the Western nations, they have been brainwashed into believing that a legitimate caliphate has been established, which is not the case. We also read in support of our statements that why ISIS is not a legitimate khilafah, why it's not an Islamic organization or a Muslim organization. The report that in the last 5 months in Syria they have executed 1,429, close to 1,500 people they have executed. They have also beheaded Kasig. We have discussed about Kasig, Peter Kasig in the past, and how he accepted Islam and he took the name of Abdul Rahim. So this is evil, to say the least. That, and we had indicated that Peter Kasig voluntarily accepted Islam, and we had also explained what their voluntarily accepting Islam means. So we had explained all those aspects. So this is something terrible, and even after accepting Islam, Peter Kasig feared for his life. So why should a person fear for his life if he has accepted Islam voluntarily? So so when they mean according to ISIS, the understanding of voluntarily accepting Islam means keeping a gunpoint at the person and saying, I do accept Islam. I think we have made this issue, we have discussed this issue in the past. We just have another report for the day which says Church of England allows female bishops. Now we don't want to read too much into it, just a statement of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is mentioned in various hadith texts including Bukhari, where it says that a nation who makes a woman as their leader will not be successful or will never be successful. This subject of women leadership itself is a complex subject and cannot be addressed in a short session like these, and especially after a long session last week, we intend to keep this week's session short. So obviously this is beyond the scope of this short address to discuss the entire issue, but in general, I mean, there are both sides of the story, whether female leadership is allowed or disallowed in Islam. To keep it short, in general, it seems the political leadership is not encouraged in Islam at all, by all means of understanding, because it places upon a lady responsibilities which is in fact a burden to her, and otherwise there is no distinction between the status. This is not to demean the status of a woman in Islam at all. Can a woman be a prophet? We don't want to go into all these intricate issues in this shorter dress. Can a woman be a prophet? Well, uh, depending on how you interpret a prophet to be. If you interpret it as someone, a person who receives revelations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there are several women who did receive revelations. We have the example of Maryam, salamun alayha, the mother of Jesus, alayhi salam, the mother of Isa, alayhi salam, who did receive revelations. Uh, I mean, these revelations are not part of a Sharia, not part of a law, but then communications did reach her through Archangel Jibreel alayhi salam or otherwise. We also have the example of the mother of Moses, peace be upon him, not the stepmother, not Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, who also is an exemplary lady in Islam, but his own mother, Yukabid or Jochebed. So there are several examples of these. So if that is taken as the meaning of prophet, then there are. But if you understand by prophet to mean who has been given the additional responsibility of prophethood or nabuwa, then this additional responsibility is not forced upon a lady, and for obvious reasons. This is a burden. This is nothing to do with status. So as far as status is concerned, then man and woman both have the same status in Islam. But then as far as burdening women with unnecessarily difficult responsibilities, no, Islam does not do that. So this is not just the viewpoint of Islam, but this seems to be the standard viewpoint of at least all of the Abrahamic faiths, including Judaism and Christianity. And it's precisely for this reason you have not seen, for example, the Pope or the Patriarch or or the chief rabbi being a woman. So now they're trying to bring in some changes. So there are and there will be necessary implications. We also suggest that Britain and America are primarily Christian nations, and Israel is primarily a Jewish nation. Using very soft terminology, we could have used more harsher or more straightforward terminology, but let us keep it simple. So this is also an indication of the transfer of power from Christianity to Judaism in that plan of things or scheme of things which the world is witnessing as the Zionist alliance. So these are some of the things which we need to just focus on when we are dealing with these issues or topics. On Wednesday, 19 November 2014, I don't find anything in the news which requires our attention, so we move ahead. On Thursday, 20 November 2014, again, we don't find much in the news which requires our attention, so we move ahead with the next day. On Friday, 21 November 2014, we have this piece of news which we want to discuss at some length. Many Muslims in Europe turning to Christianity. Now, what's going on over here? Okay, it has been widely publicized, and there's some truth in it, that Islam is the fastest spreading religion. We have indicated in the past that this has no significance at all. This is not a victory for Islam. No. Even if the whole world were to become Muslims, then there's no benefit, as some people believe, because that ratio of 999 out of every 1,000 destined for hellfire will still hold good, and those are the Gog and Magog. And the Gog and Magog are not some different beings, they are human beings. For those of you who do not have sufficient background and are getting confused what we are discussing about, please refer to some of my talks, lecture sessions in which we discuss these subjects in detail. Specifically, we can refer to my Retreat 2013 videos. You can find it in the playlist as well for your easy reference. So in short, yes, to boast about these facts that many people are turning to Islam, that proves nothing. Superficially, it may sound good, but then at the core, it is nothing really. The point of concern to us is, I mean, we are not suggesting, I mean, there is a scope that this is taken and reported out of context, that I have said certain things which are un-Islamic. It's nothing un-Islamic. Yes, Islam is the truth. We know it's the truth. We know it is what it is. That's fine. But then people accepting Islam, it proves nothing. For example, people accepting Christianity, it proves nothing. If the Muslim logic were to be accepted, then at the same token, the Christian logic would hold good as well. But we are not interested in people or the masses accepting a religion or another religion for that matter. What we are interested in assessing the truth and the validity of the different religions, in which case Islam holds good and stands good. So, what our main point of concern is, many Muslims are actually turning to Christianity. Now, at the mass level, yes, it is a true fact that many people, many Christians are accepting Islam, but why is the reverse trend also visible? And the reverse trend is actually visible at the intellectual level, so there is some need for concern. This is our concern. Now, why is this happening? In today's age, people have been affected by a virus. What is this virus? This is not a physical virus which causes you death. It's a virus which corrupts your heart. This virus is, everyone wants, they are pursuing fame, most of them. They want a name for themselves. And in that ambition and in that over ambition, what they're doing is a little bit of knowledge they gain from here and there, and they just go on to debate with Christian debaters. And in the process, what is happening is a lot of them get terribly owned up or defeated or absolutely massacred in a debate scenario, and then they just lose their faith. They become Christians. What they should have ideally done is not to engage in debate unless they have gained sufficient knowledge. You can watch some of my debates with prominent, eminent scholars of the Christian faith as well as from other faiths. You need to have sufficient preparation, you need to have sufficient knowledge. There's no point in going to a debate and getting bashed up. It makes a mockery of Islam. It puts Islam in some bad light, and it gives a very improper image of Islam. So this tendency to just run for limelight and fame and all these tendencies are causing much harm to Islam. Now, and it has also been suggested that those who are accepting Christianity amongst the Muslims, they're doing it for money. No, we don't agree with that statement at all. We say what is correct and we say what is not right. We know how to differentiate between the two. We agree that these people are actually getting intellectually bashed up and they are being subjugated at the intellectual level, not for financial reasons. They're accepting Christianity. That does not prove that Christianity is correct. I already made this claim that people accepting Islam does not prove Islam is correct. Islam is correct. Islam is valid for other reasons, because the truth speaks for itself, not because people are accepting the truth. As I said, 999, even if the whole world were to become Muslims, then there's no benefit to Islam, because there's no benefit to anyone. The only benefit is to those who correctly identify Islam and then accept the correct version, the correct truth. Many people are claiming to be Muslims, but we know that there are 73 sects, and all of the 72 sects, the rest of the 72 sects will go to the hellfire, and except for one sect. And each of the sects is claiming to be that particular sect. We will not go into all those issues in this short address. But what we essentially want to convey is twofolds. One, people should not venture out for debates. They should not accept invitations for debates unless they have sufficient knowledge themselves. Otherwise, they're causing more harm to Islam. They cannot harm Islam. They're causing harm to themselves. They are losing the faith. They may think they are gaining faith, but they're actually losing their faith, and they will face some very unpleasant. They will face very unpleasant consequences on the day of judgment. Those of you who have done that, better be prepared for that. I mean, those of you who have given up Islam for something which is so ridiculous in nature. It doesn't hold theologically good. Christianity and most of them accepting Trinitarian form of Christianity. And there are debates also between Unitarian versus Trinitarian Christian debates. This Trinitarian concept absolutely is a flawed concept. We have discussed that in the past. We can do so again in the future, but it's absolutely flawed concept. See, both the Old Testament, I mean the Torah, the present Torah, whatever they have in the corrupted form, even that, it still maintains that monotheistic concept of God, and so does Islam. But somehow in between comes Christianity, and it somehow, strangely, it comes with a theory of Trinity. Very strange, isn't it? So this is it. We are not suggesting that they're doing it for money, as some Muslims, whenever they get bashed up or defeated, they would like to say that that such and such a Muslim, he accepted Christianity because money. They're getting intellectually defeated. So this is our concern, that what purpose does it serve if you go for a debate? I mean, why do you want to go for a debate? The reason is obvious to me. The reason is obvious. So this tendency needs to be curbed. The knowledge has to be there in the masses that it's not for you and everyone to debate unless you have gained sufficient knowledge and expertise. Don't venture for debates unless you have sufficient expertise. Otherwise, the same fate will befall you. And secondarily, those are championing the cause of Christianity being the truth because of certain Muslims accepted Christianity. This is absolutely no logic at all. Then a counter logic can be given to substantiate the Muslim claim, which is illogical in its own way, that the masses, in fact, Islam is indeed the fastest growing religion. They're accepting some form of Islam, whatever form, but actually that whatever form, it's actually preserves or restores the concept of Tawheed or monotheism, at least that it is able to do. So much for this analysis, and it's for food for thought for the youths among the Muslims, especially to tread the path with caution and care. On Saturday, 22 November 2014, again, we don't have much in the news which needs our attention or analysis, so we move ahead. On Sunday, 23 November 2014, again, we don't have much in the news except for this report which comes in the news, that World Muslimah award. And this is the fourth time this event has happened. It's become an annual event. 4 years back, they started this World Muslimah award in imitation of Miss World or Miss Universe, or the pageants that we have in the Western countries. And they say that this is not an imitation because the sisters are in hijab and things like that. And this is not just a judgment of their beauty, how they awarded the winner and the runner-up, etc. But in addition, they judge the piety and the religious knowledge. I mean, how can you judge piety? Come on, this is becoming such a sham. This is becoming so stupid on the part of the Muslims. Yeah, they may be in hijab, but then it violates one of the criteria for the Islamic dress code, which is the clothes should not be so attractive as it attracts attention, especially of the opposite gender. So it clearly violates that principle, at least, if not anything else. And then what's the use of these events? Basically, it's an imitation. We cannot go there, so we have our own event, which is totally needless and unnecessary, to say the least. Okay, religious knowledge is it's there. I mean, what benefit does it achieve to the piety of an individual if he's able to demonstrate religious knowledge to the world? I don't think it does any benefit. Rather, it causes more harm to the soul, more harm to the spiritual well-being, to say the least. Again, piety, and this is too much. Come on, piety you cannot judge on a stage. If you have piety, then you would rather not go to the stage to compete in such events. So they have been successful in brainwashing our Muslim sisters into thinking that this is something, or a platform or a pageant which has been created to evaluate them on Islamic terms. And whatever they have, they come up, the Zionists, the same Zionists, they will have some right-hand man to initiate certain projects, and they will give it an Islamic name. Yes, it is different to an extent, but then it is different in its outward layout, but not in its spirit. It defeats the whole purpose of what Islam stands for. So this is a short thing. We just don't want to look into it too much, but that's some thoughts about it. So that's it. Today, Monday, 24 November 2014, we have two very important news to finish off with the analysis for this week. The first is Israel all set to officially become or announce its Jewish state status. So this we have been anticipating for quite a while now. Surely these are signs that the transfer of power may be slow, but is surely taking place, just as the transfer of power had happened from Britain to America, and so too is the transfer of power happening from America to Israel. Uh, there are suggestions that the transfer of power has already happened. Uh, by proxy, Israel has been ruling the globe for quite some time now, but even in appearance, these are what you would uh, in metaphorical terminology call flexing of muscles. This is Israel flexing its muscles now in front of the whole world. And these are some of the thoughts about the announcement and choosing this time for the announcement. It just goes on to show that Israel is indeed taking over from America as the ruling state of the world. And the second news goes that Putin, he made a statement recently that I'll not be president for life, but then I do intend uh, to run for the race in 2018. A strong message from Putin. This keeps the tension between America and Russia on, with what has been termed as Cold War 2.0 or hot war. And these are sure signs, these are sure indications of the approach of the Third World War, which is called Al-Malhamatul Kubra or Al-Malhamatul Uzma in the Islamic terminology, and as Armageddon in Christian eschatological terminology. So I think that's it for the entire week's analysis. Uh, I hope we've been able to cover what was important for this week's analysis. Even otherwise, a lot has been going on. You can check the website, blog, and channel for more updates and uploads and get benefited from them. You can share them so that others are benefited as well. So that's it for this week. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.